You know, for centuries, the book of Revelation has been this giant puzzle. It's filled with these cryptic verses, fueling just countless interpretations. It's a prophetic maze that has stumped scholars and theologians for ages. A book of visions, beasts, and, of course, a very dramatic final judgment.
But what if it's not just a bunch of weird visions? What if it's actually a code, a carefully constructed code? And what if someone out there is claiming they finally cracked it? In this explainer, we're going to dive into one source's claim to have found that very key. And with it, a way to unlock one of the Bible's greatest mysteries, the 7 seals.
Okay, so the main idea here, the core of this whole interpretation, is that for centuries, people have been looking in the completely wrong place. The key to the seals in Revelation chapter 6, well, it isn't in chapter 6 at all. Instead, it's tucked away one chapter earlier, hiding inside a list that apparently has been overlooked. So this is it. This is the supposed master key. Right before the seals are opened, millions of angels declare that the Lamb is worthy to receive 7 things, 7 essences: power, riches, wisdom, strength, honor, glory, and blessing. This theory argues that these 7 essences are the whole point. Each time a seal is opened, it's not about unleashing a plague, it's about the church on earth receiving one of these gifts, and in that exact order.
All right, so that's the theory. But how does it actually work in practice? Well, the author takes this key and applies it to the first 4 seals, mapping them directly onto these huge pivotal moments in world history. So check this out. The first seal, the source links that to Emperor Constantine's big win back in 312 AD, which gave the church some serious political muscle. The second seal gets tied to the First Crusade, which opened up new trade routes. The third, that's linked to the fall of Constantinople, an event that helped spark the Renaissance. And the fourth seal? That's connected to the start of World War I in 1914, which kicked off a generation of insane global conflict. You starting to see the pattern here? It unfolds kind of like this. The white horse of the first seal brought power through Constantine. The red horse of the second seal, representing the Crusades, brought riches from those new trade routes. The black horse of the third seal delivered ancient wisdom to the west when Constantinople fell. And finally, that pale horse of the fourth seal, it ushered in an era of military strength through the world wars. So if we follow this historical pattern, the argument is that the first 4 seals, they're done. They're in the history books. And that brings us to the most dramatic prediction in this whole thing. The prophecy of the 5th seal, which, according to this, hasn't happened yet. Okay, hang on. To really get what the source is predicting here, we need to crack a really important piece of its symbolic code. The author argues that whenever the Old Testament mentions the Forest of Lebanon, it's not talking about a literal forest in the Middle East. No, it's a code name, a symbolic name for the Vatican. And its great cedars? They represent the popes and cardinals. And when you apply that code, you get some pretty startling readings of Scripture. I mean, take this verse from the prophet Zechariah. In this view, it's not history. It's a flat-out prediction, a direct prophecy that the Vatican is going to be destroyed by fire. So yeah, the author points to the burning of the Vatican and says that's the 5th seal. In this interpretation, those souls under the altar you read about in Revelation, they're the martyrs from this future tragedy. And through that sacrifice, the church would finally get the 5th essence from the list: honor from the entire world. Now, here's the thing. This event, the fall of the Vatican, it's not the end, not by a long shot. According to this source, it's actually the beginning. It's the trigger for a very, very specific prophetic countdown. And this number is absolutely crucial: 1290. The author points right to the book of Daniel, which mentions a period of 1290 days. And the argument is, this countdown starts the instant the 5th seal happens, the moment the Vatican burns. So the timeline laid out here is super precise. Let's walk through it. First, the Vatican burns. Boom. That starts the 1290-day clock. Tick-tock. At the end of that period, the event known as the Abomination of Desolation, often seen as a great act of sacrilege, takes place. That kicks off the Great Tribulation, a prophesied time of intense global suffering. And that period finally ends with the opening of the 6th seal, which is marked by some really dramatic signs in the heavens. Okay, so where is all of this going? What's the end game here? What's the point of this whole dramatic sequence? Well, according to the author, it's all about a massive, fundamental shift in the spiritual world. First things first, the Vatican, the long-established center of Christianity, it's going to fall. This interpretation sees its destruction as a totally necessary step in the prophetic timeline. But then, from those ashes, something new is going to rise, a new spiritual kingdom. The way this source sees it, the fulfillment of prophecy means the center of faith is moving. It's going to be reestablished in the land of Israel. You see, this vision isn't just about destruction. It's about transformation. The author talks about a new era where the lost tribes of Israel are gathered, a new spiritual temple is set up, and in a final, really symbolic twist, those former popes and cardinals, the Cedars of Lebanon, are repurposed as the very beams and rafters of this new spiritual house.
Look, it's a really complex, pretty radical rereading of a famous prophecy, right? It connects these ancient verses to huge historical events and even future predictions, and it all hinges on that one little list of 7 words, which kind of leaves us with a big question. What if the key to one of history's greatest mysteries was just hidden in plain sight this whole time, waiting for someone to turn it?